Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome to another episode of Influencers Radio. Today we are going to be talking about something that has the potential to save lives. And I know a lot of folks, you know, when you get into some of this stuff, you think about, it's always that cure is more important than prevention. And this isn't necessarily something that you can't ignore because you probably have had something occur in your life or know someone, or you've at least had a very, been touched by a circumstance where what we're going to talk about today could have possibly played a pivotal role in the outcome of this. And today I have the founder and the creator of I.C.E. Keytags, I.C.E. medical cards, Mr. Tom Force. Tom, welcome to Influencers Radio.
Hello, Jack. I really appreciate you having me on today, and I look forward to helping protect your audience and spreading the word of what we're trying to do, because, getting the word out there about prevention is very difficult, and I'm very appreciative for folks like you who get what we do and help us get the word out about how important this is.
Well, this is, of course, what I feel makes you an influencer because of how many people this has touched and has the potential of really having a big impact on their lives and the lives of the people around them. Now, let's first start off. When we talk about I.C.E. Keytags, I.C.E., but we're not talking about diamonds here, right?
Not at all. In fact, when I went to register we have a U.S. registered trademark for ICE, and I found out there's about 22 different ones out there. We own the trademark for ICE on plastic cards and key tags. It stands for in case of emergency. But you're right. There's ICE beer, ICE hairstyling. There's immigration and customs enforcement. So we're just a subset of all the different ICEs out there.
All right. So ICE in case of emergency. Now, to a lot of people, that may be a new term, but they probably have it somewhere close to their body, some reference of that, whether it's in their cell phone or something, because it's a common term. It's an industry standard term for folks in the medical profession or the first responders profession. Can you kind of go into the details of what that I.C.E. stands for and what it means to folks in the profession?
Sure, Jack. That's correct. Probably about 10 or 12 years ago, the emergency medical technician industry, the EMS folks, really started a public awareness campaign trying to get folks to prepare for being in case of emergency, and then that's kind of what's led to the evolution of what I'm doing. But at least, with the evolution of the cell phone, and that's really around 2000, 2002, where cell phones really started to gain universal acceptance and price points where just about everybody started having them. They did want the emergency contact information programmed into your phone. In fact, they'd asked that you had separate contacts that said ICE in there, and that way, at the scene of an accident, they could go through and find the people they want to call. Now, public acceptance has been kind of low. We found out in our business that a lot of people don't do that. But that is the evolution of ICE, and I think what we've done is we've taken that concept and said, okay, we need to raise awareness about the limitations of that and how we can expand on that to make sure people always have a better outcome than just having it in their phone. But that's really where it started from. And when you mention ICE within the medical community, everybody recognizes exactly what that stands for, and it's so important that we did trademark it.
Yeah, and that's what I guess the main thing is, that it is something that's common to anyone that's a first responder, paramedic, or anything. They know exactly what ICE is, and they look for that thing, with the depending on the circumstances or the situation. And so you've kind of taken this concept and you've really created some very unique and clever ways to expand this and get this out to communities and get the awareness of this. And before we jump into exactly, how you've done that, let's find out what actually made you even look at this and think about this as a concept to expand the way that you have.
Well, I appreciate you asking that, Jack. And it kind of dives right into where you led into in the intro to the show, is that, sometimes there's things that happen that, you're just not thinking about until they actually happen to you, and you kind of find out the hard way. And you're talking about prevention and things like that. And my personal story was that, I had ice in my phone, but I really didn't give a second thought to the ramifications of what could happen when a loved one goes to the hospital. And then back in January of 2010, my mom, who lived in Florida, was rushed to the ER. She had turned out she had a brain aneurysm, but she was taken to the ER, and I found out that it took many hours for my sister, who only lived about 30 minutes away. And by the time the word got out to her and myself, and by the time we got to the hospital, Mom had slipped into a coma and eventually passed away. And that's something that sticks with you for the rest of your life. It's very emotional. And my sister, certainly was closest by, and she'd give anything to have been there, in the next hour or whatever, rather than many hours later. And doing some research going forward, I found out that, we actually quote a police spokesman on our website. He was quoted in USA Today talking about this very issue. Said, it could take many hours and even up to a day to find next of kin, because if people look at their own contact information that they carry on them, maybe you've got an expired driver's license address, or there's very little that people carry on them that really clearly defines whom to call in the case of emergency. I know I examined my kids' stuff and kind of took personal inventory and found that, I'm kind of guilty of the same thing. And the other thing is, in a serious accident, Jack, that's going to send you to the hospital, we all love our cell phones, but statistics show that either it's going to be lost in the passenger compartment, it's going to be broken, because really it's like hitting a brick wall at whatever speed, or if you're like me, your cell phone's going to be locked and of little use. So even if we put the ICE information into the phone, chances are it's not going to be there for us when we need it to be. So that's basically the story that kind of got me thinking that, there's something to be taken care of here. And then that following summer, my daughter was working late night shifts at a restaurant here in Dallas and coming home on the backside of the clock. And as a parent, and I think your parents in the audience out there can relate, is that you kind of lay awake at night with one eye open waiting for that child to come home. And you're worried that, maybe you'll wake up in the morning and they're not there, and that's when you find out something's wrong. So I always wondered, what is going to make sure that I'm the one who's called right away when something happens? And I didn't have that warm fuzzy until I got the idea about the ICE products that we evolved into that we'll talk about today.
So, and I think right there, anyone that is listening to that and has children or loved ones, anyone that's around them that they do have that worry, they think about, recognizes that feeling. You probably just recreated that feeling for a lot of people, because they know exactly.
I hope so. That's what I'm trying to do. Absolutely. Because, if it happens to you, you never forget it. Yeah.
And so how did you kind of connect the dots there and say that, even though they may have this thing programmed in the phone, this isn't going to work. If something happens, the phone's going to be broken. They're not going to find the phone. There's got to be a better way to do this that, well, one, especially with kids, it can't be something that's going to be an impediment to their lifestyle, right?
Exactly.
And people have always,
bracelets.
People have talked about ID bracelets and electronic trackers and all this stuff. So I think one of the first things you came up with was the ICE Keytag. Is that correct?
That's correct. Because, as I was, laying awake at night, it's just one of those things that I'm sure your listeners, can relate to. You kind of have that aha moment. Because I'm thinking, she's got a great phone, but it's not going to be of any use. And even if they got it open, I'm probably number 100 down there on the most recent calls. So we need something that's not going to rely on technology in that regard. We need something simple. And I was thinking, I realized that one of the first things first responders do when they get to the scene of an accident, whether it's a policeman or fireman or whomever, is they'll reach in and they'll turn the ignition off because they don't want any electricity out there that can possibly start a fire in the engine. And so you need something on the key ring right there that they'll see. And our hardworking first responders, Jack, I tell you, they got a tough job, and people don't make it easy for them. So we're trying to help them help our people just as quickly as can. So, it just came to my mind is that there needs to be something on the key ring that helps them out, because they may not find the wallet or the purse, All this stuff could be strewn about the compartment. Sometimes they have a tough enough job just extracting the person from the car. But they can reach that, they're going to reach that steering column and get the key ring. So why not have a tag on there? And I was thinking, let's keep it simple. Let's have something where people can write in that one number. For my daughter, it's going to be, in case of emergency, call 817 and my number in there. And I'm thinking, boy, that's awfully simple. It would probably work. And then I realized, the other thing that we can have on there is a place to write in the number if somebody finds those keys. And I'll challenge your listeners today to take a look at their key ring, and if they lost their keys, first, think of how bad your day is going to be if you lost your keys. Second, if I found them on the street, how am I going to be able to get them back to you? And I think 95% of the time, Jack, people don't have any way of having anything on their key rings to get them back if somebody found them, which I think is terrible. So we have a place on that key tag to write in that phone number, and in my case, it's my cell phone number. You find my keys, call my cell phone, and I can get my keys back quickly. And it's really actually a big problem. We actually used Hootsuite one day, Jack, to monitor lost my keys on Twitter. Can you believe 437 people actually took the time to tweet lost my keys? So it happens to people every day. So that was the beginning. That was the start of the I.C.E. key tag, and we made generic key tags and eventually partnered with business. And I'm sure you probably want to talk a little bit about how we got that out there.
Oh, yeah, of course. And key tags, to me, that is something that is so it's already accepted. I bet anybody out there that pulls out their keys right now probably has a key tag on there. And just so we're very clear on what that is, whether it's from the drugstore or your grocery store that has your membership, you probably have it if you a gym membership. The key tags have become just that way to not have to carry around a bunch of other. It just creates. It's not cumbersome at all to add a key tag to.
No, people have them all
keys.
the time. They look like club sandwiches on there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and ours is a little bit bigger, Jack. I recognize that, and I looked at all the different tags on there. We made ours a quarter-inch wider and a little bit longer, so that does stick out. Excuse me, it does stick out. And use a color scheme that really pops so that it makes it easy for first responders to find it.
Right. And so what I want to talk about now is what you did that I think was just extremely clever and beneficial and probably exponentially grew the number of key tags that were out there, because rather than just having the emergency information on, you thought, here's some real estate here. This is also a perfect opportunity for businesses to use this to, one, give something out that's beneficial to their community, and two, while having their message, at their perfect consumers and referrals hands at all times, anytime they have the key. So let's talk about how you took this key tag with this emergency information and married it with a pretty clever marketing strategy that allowed this to really take off and benefit so many people in so many different levels.
Exactly, Jack. And I wish I could take credit for the inspiration. I'm an airline captain, by the way, and I was talking to my first officer one day when I first devised the key tag, and I was just selling them with little designs on the other side, like American flags and little EMT symbols. And, it wasn't going to be a big business. It was something cool. And when you're selling things for $2 on the internet, you're not going to retire with that. But, I wanted to make a difference. And so I would show them to everybody that, I flew with, and we did some fundraisers. I did a 9/11 memorial fundraiser here in Dallas, raised a bunch of money. But I was sitting there showing it to one of my first officers. He goes, you ought to partner with business on the other side. That's a billboard right there. And it was like I got hit in the head with a ton of bricks. I said, why didn't I think of that? And so you're exactly right. So fast forward, what we did, and I started with, my sphere of influence, and that's what I recommend to anybody who's out there, trying to peddle aware or start something, is go to the, follow your dollar, go to the people who you give money to every day, and let them return the favor. So I went to my chiropractor, and those guys are all over alternative advertising, and he got it. He understood exactly what we were trying to do, and basically what we did is we put a design for his business right on there. It's like, just think of it as a business card on a key tag. It has his logo, his brand on there, and contact information. And then on the back, what we did is we had space for QR code, and I think that's really cool. And so what he has is he has advertising space on the front, and an easy way for his customers, and he gives them out like candy. He has an easy way for his customers to refer him because his phone number's on there, to contact his office. And think about how many times you get business cards. Where do your business cards end up? If you're lucky, they end up in the wallet. Otherwise, they end up in the trash or elsewhere. But with that key tag, it's always there. And then with the QR code on the back, what we did for this doctor is you could scan the QR code, and you could go, initially it was to a YouTube video about his practice, and now that QR code goes to his scheduling software. So he's right there front and center in top of mind with the customer every day. You probably see your keys 10 or 15 times a day. And it works great for the chiropractor, but it works great for every industry. You think about real estate agents, pizza parlors. You right there, I've got a hankering for pizza. I don't know where the phone number is. Oh, yeah, it's right there on my key tag. And then we actually found so many benefits from doing this, Jack. I've got actually a 36-page guide for businesses on all the benefits, some that are obvious, some that you don't think about. And I want to give you one really good example of creative marketing that we did with this. We have a college town here in Texas, and this one street has 8 or 9 bars, and my son worked at one of them. So he said, "Hey, we'd like to get the key tags in here." I said, "Okay, so we did the traditional advertising on the front of the key tag, but on the back, Jack, we have a great use of the QR code. We use a dynamic QR code. I know you're familiar with that and how all that works, where you can actually change what the QR code brings up as often as a minute. And so what we did with this bar is on the back, when you scan the QR code on this key tag, from 6 in the morning till midnight, it brings up what the bar's special is that day. So every day the content changes. But from midnight to 6 in the morning, if the customer scans that code, a big red button comes up, and all they have to do is push it, and dial a ride is dialed. And that way they don't have to be able to see a phone number or, hey, I need a ride. It's the local taxi services in there. And so it's being a responsible business as well, so that, if the patrons had too much to drink, we kind of make it easy for them to push a button and get home. With the QR code on there and all the advertising that we're able to do with this, we actually we actually have several 100,000 around the world. I've got a sales force of 1099 sales reps. We actually took the I.C.E key tag with the business affiliations. I think we're in 31 states and 6 different countries. We're as far away as Australia. We really caught on with what we were doing.
Yeah, I think, you said something about, how the chiropractors are handing these out like candy. And, that's the thing I think about is how many folks out there, insurance agents, people that hand out things like calendars that nobody is going to use. It's
right.
They hand out all this promotional stuff that, I always say what they're really saying is, here, you throw this away. Right. And what you've created is something that is not only useful and it's something that people are going to put right there, but it also has multi-purposes, not just a promotional tool, but it actually really is benefiting the community when they hand those out. And the more people that have those on there, the more that this spreads. And you, of course, of the creator of this, get more of these out there, because if you have people that are purchasing from these, purchasing these from you, and they're handing them out like candy, well, it sounds like a win-win-win-win. I don't know how many wins you have in their formula for doing this.
And the big thing is, like you said, it's self-promoting. In other words, they're promoting their business. We're protecting people, and when you get one, Jack, from your how often do you get something from any of the people you patronize every day that actually kind of has value? You look at it and say, hey, that's nice, thank you. It actually says, I care, and that's something that's really hard for a business owner to do, because, we're in the business of, they're in the business of taking your money, giving you, something. We're not used to getting something for free that doesn't have a string attached, like, you get $5 off on your next purchase or something like that. This is actually something they give to you and can actually, like you said before, potentially help save your life.
Right. And so let's talk about how this evolved. So you have the key tags out there, and you obviously your brain keeps cranking away. What happens next?
Well, the key tags, the thrust of what they were doing, their emergency notification platform. Basically, like I said in my story, I wanted to make sure that I was called if any of my kids had an issue. But there's a problem in that. I mean, and it's, you know what, Jack, that's like 98% more than what anybody else has out there. So it's a start, but it's not perfect. And I think about the fact that, well, if I'm at 35,000 feet, that number's not going to do anything. I fly nights. So how would I make sure that my wife would be called if I'm not? Well, there's only room for one number on there. And so while I had the Keytags, in good distribution, and we really got that rolling, I was like, I'm always looking for more. I always want to take it to the next level. Kind of like Apple and everybody else, they always want to improve on what you have. And I was looking at different software solutions, and what I wanted was a solution, Jack, whereby at the scene of an accident, an EMT not only just got a phone number to call, but with a little bit of technology could bring up a full contact and emergency information record, because I think we're many years away from actually having a universal electronic medical records. Our medical system right now is in disarray. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me on that. And e-health records have been something that they've been trying to put in place, but it's not. In the meantime, people are dying because they're not getting the proper care. And the care is just not as good as it could be because of lack of information. And so what I developed, the next evolution that you're starting to refer to, is called the I.C.E. medical card. It's actually a system, Jack. Our members now carry a full-size wallet card. It's a credit card-sized card. It fits in your wallet or your purse, and we ask that you put that right in front of your driver's license, and it's very distinctive. Has a big red, white, and blue on it. It says I.C.E. medical card on it. And now the key ring has a very distinctive area on the front that it says I.C.E. medical card, and is designed to gather or attract attention very quickly. On the back, we have some important information for the EMTs or emergency room doctors. What they can do is scan the QR code or go to a URL, and scanning the QR code takes them to the same place. It's called yourice.info, and that's a members portal, emergency entry portal. And what happens is we describe this on the back for EMTs, and says, enter the 10-digit account number that you see on this card or this tag. And they do that, and if they enter it correctly, it says, enter the PIN. And it's an 8-digit PIN that we assign to the customer. And if they do both those correctly, they hit enter, and everything that customer wanted them to know at the scene of the accident comes up. And it's virtually unlimited, Jack. You start with your primary contact's name and phone number. You can put in a secondary contact name and phone number, your doctor's information, his name, his phone number. We have an entry in there for your lost keys in case somebody finds the keys and wants to use that. But then more importantly, we have a full text area. This is the heart of the system. You can enter just about anything you want in there. For instance, you can put in your full medical history. In other words, just type it in and say, hey, I've had surgery for this. I had a heart attack in such and such a time. I'm a diabetic. I take this particular medication, things that can affect your treatment. There are people who are allergic to penicillin. I think the EMTs and emergency room doctors might not like to know that. And then it goes beyond the medical issues. There are things such as, where's my do not resuscitate, which comes in handy with seniors. They might have living will information, and nobody really knows where that is. So you take it a step further. Say you're a single mom or single parent, and you've got to pick your children up at school. Well, you're not going to make it. You're not going to be there that day. In this record, you could put, hey, Mary Allen needs to pick up my child. Here's her phone number. Could somebody call them? It's all about planning, Jack. It's kind of like devising a will. It's something we don't think about, but sometimes you just need to sit down and get it done. So our members, as part of the membership system, have an online portal that they control all this information. They can log in. It's an Infusionsoft. It's all secure. And they can go in there and put all this information in there. It's not their doctor. It's not the government controlling it. And then anytime anything changes, a phone number, a contact, maybe they're traveling. Maybe they travel a lot and they're going to be out of the country for a month. They can put in the name of the hotel they're staying at or anything they feel is pertinent. This system, Jack, works anywhere in the world that the Internet is accessible to.
Yeah, and I think you made an important distinction because a lot of folks, with their medical records and all that, there's only what they choose to put on there, right? They have full choice and create. So they can put as much or as little as they want information to do. It's not like they're giving access to some central database that has everything about them that they may not want out there. This is just the information that they choose for that responder to see when they put in that.
Absolutely.
Card.
And you've touched on probably the only objection I ever get. And I say objection, it's usually the question is, what about privacy? what about that information that we stole? And I think Home Depot and Target have proven that not everything is 100% secure. We go to great lengths. I mean, just by having a 10-digit and an 8-digit code to enter, that kind of gets rid of the randomness of people trying to punch in numbers to see what we can bring up. But beyond that, the information that's in there is of no use to crooks if you do it right. No, there's no money in finding out that you have diabetes. But what we portray it, Jack, is if you could wake up, let's say that you're unconscious at the scene of an accident, you could wake up for 1 minute. What would you say to these folks? What's important? What could affect your treatment? Are you allergic to something? What are the important things that they need to know right now? And beyond that, if people are really skittish about putting any kind of that personal information in there, I take it a step further and say, look, okay, let's do this. Find one particular person you trust, give them a little sheet, a little cheat sheet, a little Post-it note or whatever of the things that are important to you, and then just put their phone number, their name and their phone number in your record, and that's it. Okay, and that would be the lowest level usage of our system, but at least EMTs would know whom to call. And that way, you don't have your medical information in there at all, but at least you have something in there to help you because, let's face it, nobody ever anticipates going to the ER, but as soon as you step out of your house today, that can happen. We all know that. So at least have something in there. It's wise to have as much info in there as you possibly can, but even on the lowest level, at least have something in there because if you're knocked out and on your way, you're going to be there a long time by yourself, and the more those folks know about you, the better the outcome.
Yeah, this really is the whole concept is really remarkable, and the opportunities that folks have to choose and with a very simple way to let folks know about this. And you've actually got some pretty, recognition. You've, been TV news has done interviews and coverage of you. You recently were as part of a contest, a national contest for ideas and inventions. Talk about that.
Sure. Well, and I appreciate you getting let me plug a little bit, but it was great. Early on in the year, the TV portion, we were actually fortunate to be part of a pilot of a TV show called Game Plan, and you think of Shark Tank, but they're much more friendly. They have no teeth. It was more of a sit down, kind of like what you're doing with me, Jack, today, and kind of talking about the business. In fact, now I think about it, it was pretty much exactly like that. And what they did is one of the guests on there was Kevin Harrington. Folks who are Shark Tank fans would recognize him from season 1. He sat where Mark Cuban sits now, and I discussed the business with him, and he had the same reaction as you, and he kind of gave some ideas of where we'd like to market this, and he's a big proponent of what we do, and that kind of propelled me. I took some of these clips. Home Shopping Network folks were real interested, and I took that and applied to a show. It's on the radio called MyCoolInventions.com. It's run by some longtime Home Shopping Network folks, and they out there like to promote inventions, and as long as you have a patent in place, they'll have you on the show. And our system has a provisional patent. And basically what we do is we get to pitch our product for 1 minute, and then a nationwide radio audience votes on it. And the folks who win that week, there's 4 different contestants that week, and if you win, you go on to the monthly competition. And if you win the monthly competition, the bottom line is there's 3 rounds, and you go up against some pretty well-established entrepreneurs. Basically, everybody's thoroughly vetted, have some great ideas, and in the finals, you get to pitch your invention for 2 minutes, and basically it's problem, solution, call to action. And I work really hard with this because I'm really passionate about what we're doing, because my goal is to protect 100,000 lives this year with this system, so I welcome all opportunities to do this. But we had a great show, and we actually won a $20,000 marketing package, which I'm just starting to explore now. We won at the end of August, and but to me, Jack, it's more about this is another stepping stone for exposure, because there might be one person out there today listening to what's going on, or one person who listened to that show who says, that whole thing makes sense, and I'd like to have that protection. And people don't tend to think about themselves, but more about their family. Like I've got the elderly parents. I want to make sure they have it, or my kids. But we have family packages of memberships. But if we're just touching one person today because of this call, and we can help keep them out of trouble, then that's great. And it's the kind of thing that people continue to talk about. So the radio show was great. This opportunity is great, and we really appreciate folks like you getting the word out there for us.
No. Well, I certainly appreciate what you're doing, and I would definitely allow me to be one of those stepping stones. How can folks find out more about what you're doing and the whole, ICE medical card and Keytag concept?
Sure. You can go to our website. It's real easy. It's icemedicalcard.com. It's undergoing a transition right now where we're updating it over the next week or so. I'm going to put more videos. You'll get to see myself on there. We're going to simplify it a little bit, but there's a lot of information on there, and I made one of the classic mistakes that entrepreneurs make is they want to just shoot from the hip. You want to reach everybody out there, so kind of work your way through. We've got a lot of videos on there and what have you. But at the very end of the day, you can go onto that site, icemedicalcard.com, and click Buy Protection. And there you'll see that we have all sorts of different membership plans. You can start with something as simple as $4.95 a month. We'll buy you a protection plan from us. You'll get your emergency portal. You get to try us out. And what I want to point out is every one of our plans comes with a 30-day a risk-free money-back guarantee. So if you buy our system, you try it out and decide, you know what, maybe I don't need this, I'll more than happy to give you your money back. Never had to do that, but if for some reason somebody feels that, that it's not worth it, we'll go ahead and do that without any risk whatsoever. So there's no, like I said, there's no risk, no problem. Go ahead and try this out. When you go through our different options there, you'll see that you can get a monthly membership. You can buy on an annual basis. You can save some money by going $49.95 a year. But also we have family packages on there as well. You can protect a family of four. When I say a family of four, it doesn't have to be your immediate family. You can have folks who live elsewhere as part of your package. That's $12.95 a month, or our best value is protect four people for less than $100 a year, $99.95. And that's one distinction, Jack, I want to bring up while we're on this, is that when you're in business like this and you're getting a lot of exposure, people come to you and say, how does this compare to this? Okay, and there's different things out there like the ID bracelets, which we talked about. If you're a bicyclist, you've got road ID. I think if you look at what we have, we complement road ID, and those who have it know what I'm talking about. But somebody showed me a product the other day, which is it's a membership card with a USB port on the end. I'm not sure if you've ever seen those, Jack. Amazon sells them. They don't get that great of reviews because the USB port on the end tends to break a little bit. But one point of distinction I'd like to make, and it's really important, is that a lot of our customers are more interested in protecting other people than themselves. Our target markets, there's two people. There's folks who have seniors in their life, like yourself and myself, who have parents who we'd like to have carry the card, but we can't trust them to keep it updated. Okay, they're maybe not computer savvy. And then we look at parents who have teenagers who drive and are off of college. And let's face it, the college kid probably is saying, yeah, I'm immortal, I'm not going to need this. But the parents know differently. Okay, so by buying a 4-pack or a membership package for somebody else, you can actually maintain the information without ever actually having physical possession of the card. Okay, so what I would do in my case is when I got the 4-pack, I'd fill it out for my wife and I'd fill it out for myself, and you just need a different email address for each account. That's all you need, something that you have access to. But then I could take these cards and I could send them as Christmas gifts to my mom and my dad and just say, hey, put this in your wallet, carry it on your key ring. Don't ask me any questions. Just go ahead and do it. And I maintain that information. I never have to have possession of the cards to keep it updated, and that's really important because everything else that I've seen, it was somewhat inferior to what we're doing anyway, but this is really important because now you can protect other people and do it remotely. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think that right there, probably gives people a whole other way to look at this is the fact that, I'll get a card so people can know, who to call in case I'm, in an accident or something happens to me. But in reality, you're getting the peace of mind for yourself, for the people,
exactly.
The people that you love to keep this covered.
Because when you go back and look at my story, I never was really concerned about myself. It was more about my mom. It was more about my daughter, and that's what folks are today. That's what we find out in marketing. People are more likely to buy prevention for somebody they care about rather than themselves. So that's why we really feature that and make sure that you're protecting the people you care about, even if you're not as worried about yourself.
Right. That's, incredibly powerful stuff. Tom Force, definitely why you're on here, an influencer to so many different levels with the people that you've affected and empowered to have access to this stuff. So I do appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us today.
Never a question, Jack. I'm thrilled to be here. You've influenced me when it comes to marketing and what we were doing with I.C.E. Keytags, you were one of our influencers, and I'm more than happy to talk to your audience. In fact, we had some quotes from you about I.C.E. Keytags in our newsletter, and so more than happy to wash the other hand here and be part of this great group, and happy to be back on anytime, and love the work that you're doing. All
right. Well, fantastic. Folks, there you have it. ICEmedicalcard.com. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your peace of mind, your family. Check it out. It is just such a low investment to make, to have this peace of mind. So it's just, to me, it's absolute no-brainer. ICEmedicalcard.com. So until next time, for Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/influencersradio.